Salvatore DeLuca, backstory. Salvatore DeLuca is a prominent character in the Call of Duty Zombies series, specifically in Mob of the Dead. He is portrayed as a high-ranking mafia figure deeply involved in organized crime in Chicago. Sal has built a reputation as a brutal and ruthless gangster, willing to do whatever it takes to maintain his power and influence. Personality and motivation. Sal is known for his charismatic yet menacing presence. His loyalty to the mafia and his allies is unwavering, and he is constantly working to secure his status in the criminal underworld. He is a complex character who embodies both the strengths and weaknesses of a life of crime. Though he is seen as a leader, he is also plagued by paranoia and the constant pressure to defend his position. Relationships with other characters. Sal has close connections with Finn O'Leary, Billy Handsome, and Albert Weasel Arlington. His relationship with Finn is particularly interesting as he serves as both a mentor and a threatening figure. While Finn admires Sal, he also fears him due to Sal's willingness to use violence to achieve his goals. The tragedy of his fate. Sal is a tragic figure as his ambitions and loyalty ultimately lead to his downfall. In Mob of the Dead, he is imprisoned on Alcatraz with his accomplices, and the loss of his freedom symbolizes the price he must pay for his life choices. Billy Handsome. Backstory. Billy Handsome is another central character in Mob of the Dead. He is depicted as a brutal and unpredictable criminal who grew up immersed in the world of organized crime. Billy is notorious for his violent nature and his love of conflict, making him a feared figure in the underworld. Personality and motivation. Billy is impulsive and often reckless, which sets him apart from his fellow characters. While others in the story may employ strategy, Billy acts on instinct. His impulsive behavior often lands him in trouble, and he frequently loses control of his emotions. Relationships with other characters. Billy has a complicated relationship with Sal DeLuca, who tries to keep him in check. Billy sees Sal as both a mentor and a rival, which makes their dynamic complex. His relationship with Finn O'Leary is also tense, as Finn tries to distance himself from the aggression and brutality that Billy represents. The tragedy of his life. Billy's life is marked by violence and loss. His decisions ultimately lead him to imprisonment in Alcatraz, where he must face the ghosts of his past. In a world where violence is key to survival, Billy becomes a symbol of the dark side of crime and the inevitability of facing the consequences of his actions. Albert Weasel Arlington. Backstory. Albert Arlington, known as Weasel, is another key figure in Mob of the Dead. Weasel has a shady background, heavily involved in organized crime. He is a cunning and opportunistic gangster, often engaging in schemes that serve his own interests. Personality and motivation. Weasel is intelligent and manipulative. He is skilled at exploiting the weaknesses of others to achieve his own goals. His survival instincts are strong, and he is willing to fight for his advantage, even if it means betraying his allies. These traits make him a dangerous character, as he trusts no one. Relationships with other characters. Weasel's relationship with Finn O'Leary is tense and filled with mistrust. While Finn tries to distance himself from Weasel, the latter's manipulations make him a constant threat. His relationship with Sal DeLuca is also complex, as Weasel occupies a subordinate position but constantly tries to assert his own influence. Consequences of his actions. Weasel's opportunistic nature leads him to imprisonment in Alcatraz, where he is haunted by the consequences of his betrayals. His actions come back to haunt him in this grim environment, and he becomes a figure who is always fighting for his own survival. Michael Finn O'Leary. Backstory. Michael Finn O'Leary is the protagonist of Mob of the Dead. He is a former gangster and a fallen man, imprisoned in Alcatraz. His story is shaped by his involvement in organized crime and the terrible consequences of his decisions. Personality and motivation. Finn is an ambivalent character, driven by guilt and a longing for redemption. He has made many mistakes in his life, and the weight of his guilt haunts him. At the same time, he yearns for a better life, one that the world of crime can never offer. This inner conflict makes him a tragic figure. Relationships with other characters. Finn's relationships with Sal, Billy, and Weasel are central to his development. He is influenced by their presence, as well as their violence and manipulation. His loyalty to Sal and his dislike of Weasel reflect the complexity of his personality. Finn is often torn between a desire for loyalty and the need to protect himself. The price of his choices. Finn's fate in Alcatraz is a constant confrontation with the ghosts of his past. His quest for redemption and his battle against the darkness surrounding him make him a deep character, one who ultimately embodies the tragedy of a life of crime. In the supernatural setting of Alcatraz, Finn is forced to face his fears and the harsh reality of his decisions. Conclusion. Salvatore DeLuca, Billy Handsome, Albert Weasel, and Michael Finn O'Leary are complex figures who embody the darker aspects of organized crime. Their relationships with each other, personal struggles, and the consequences of their actions make them tragic characters in the Call of Duty zombie series. Their stories are marked by loss, betrayal, loyalty, and the constant pursuit of redemption, offering a deep exploration of the moral dilemmas inherent in a life of crime